All right, Mike, so a lot of questions. I know you've answered most of them, but give our audience an opportunity to hear some of it.
Sure.
First of all, there was an initial report, and I don't expect you and management to be on the same page about everything, right? You guys have your own ideas. But in general, were you guys on the same page? Because there was a report that maybe management wanted to move some guys, but ownership stepped in and said no, or vice versa. I assume that kind of stuff happens occasionally. It wouldn't be unusual. Did that happen over the last 24, 48 hours?
Now, during the process, especially this trade deadline process, the draft process, whenever we have these big dates on the calendar and these big decisions to make, there's always discussion, there's always dialogue between the ownership and myself. At the end of the day, these are organizational decisions, whether we buy, we sell, who we draft, who we sign, and that type of thing. I'm responsible for the decision. I break the ties and that type of thing. But these are all done in conjunction with each other. We're a very cohesive group that communicates very, very well together. And after we make these decisions, especially these philosophical macro type of decisions, we're all on board. We're all on the same page. And we've discussed it ad nauseum, and these are things that we know the direction we're going in, and ownership and myself work hand in hand.
So that would basically then directly refute a report that suggested that there were deals in place to move certain guys, but ownership stepped in and said no.
There was conversations and due diligence done on several players.
Right.
Where you're 2 or 3 phone calls away from possibly making a deal if you wanted to make them. But that's in every trade deadline. We have to prepare ourselves to do what we're going to do in case we go in that direction. And if there are deals there that make sense for us, that make us better in 2018 and beyond, we certainly in the past have made them. We certainly in the future will make them. But in this case, we had a lot of deals in place, set up if we were to go in that direction, but we decided not to go in that direction because the player return wasn't worth the risk of abandoning this 2008 season.
Will you answer this question, Mike? What team was most interested in Bryce?
There were several teams. There was a small handful of teams that got serious at the end, but there were several teams, as you can imagine, with fits that Harp would really help. But at the end of the day, like I said before, it had to be an exceptional player of Bryce's ilk and ability level, and we felt that the price again wasn't worth abandoning the 2018 season because we believe in this team and we think we can win the division.
Well, I wish you would have moved some guys. It would have made it more fun for us the next couple of days, but whatever. That's
always part of the process.
I know. You always got to consider that. Were you ever close, though? Did you ever actually think was there ever a period of time where there were so many deals were being offered that you actually thought, okay, well, we have to discuss this as an organization, but there's a chance that we could, in essence, blow this thing up? Did you ever get that close?
We never got to the point where we said if we get X player back in a trade, we're going to blow this up. It never got to the point where we had that close of a deal to get it done. But like I said, we had ideas and discussions about 5 or 6 players, and I guess there was a scenario that if everything went well, we would have gone in that direction. But like I said, there had to be such a circumstance where we felt that the risk of abandoning this season was so worth the future in 19 and beyond that we were going to blow it up. But it never got to that point.
No pun intended. I'm going to harp on it again. What team? Can you answer this? What team had the best package for Bryce Harper, in your opinion?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to answer that just because there's just so many moving variables until you actually get to the final part of the deal. that you don't know who has the best package. But what you have to get in these packages for a player such as that is you have to get one or two anchor players, what we call anchor players, and then some auxiliary players that go along with it. And the anchor player was never there when we talked about any of the deals with Bryce Harper.
Okay.
Mike, did you have a sit-down with Bryce Harper before the trade deadline got to yesterday just to say, hey, look, we're going to gauge interest. Don't be offended by it. I wanted to tell you first. Did you have some sort of one-on-one meeting with Bryce leading up to the trade deadline?
I'm with those guys every day, so I interact with them. And, these players, they're very cognizant of how this thing works and how how the world of baseball works. And I've had conversations with Harp, leading up to the deadline, and when all these media outlets and stories were out there about Harp, all the rumors, I felt it was important for me to call him and tell him when we realized that there was going to be no deal. For him to get a good night's sleep and not to worry about it, that we weren't going to move him. And I think that the phone call was received well. I think he appreciated it. He understood what we were trying to do and the business aspect of it. And but at the end of the day, we just couldn't find a deal that we liked, and I felt that was important for us to communicate that to him so he could relax a little bit.